If you can make God bleed, then people will cease to believe in him. And there will be blood in the water, and the sharks will come.
Remember the video we did on TI? How I
Okay.
started to see how TI is stacking logic?
Yes.
Where the TEs were just throwing shit at the wall.
Yes.
And then you open up your airsoft gun, you're like, oh my god, somebody did 50 layers worth of think through.
Yes.
And they're stacking this up, and there's no way we can do that because we got to run on to the next thing.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
watching this little clip on the Iron Man movie, it reminded me of what NI is doing.
Right.
Now, I know everybody out there thinks they have fucking Savior NI.
I know.
But not very many people are actually doing this, where they're stacking abstract observations.
Right.
Notice the abstract wording, and notice the chain of events that this leads to this, and then this leads to
Yep.
this, and this leads to this, and this leads to this. And we're not talking about the censor. We're not talking about what's actually factually. Who knows how it randomly, chaotically
It's
censors.
a whole story building on one concept. And you could just talk about it for a whole
Right.
like it is fascinating. Like some of the NI, especially like Savior NI, Lead NI, whatever, like will just tell you for 10 minutes building on one story and it doesn't even exist. You're like,
Right.
was that real? Like, yep, nope. Just
Right.
a whole NI story.
Not saying their NI prophecies come true.
No.
They usually don't because they're lacking facts, and then the one that does like makes it in the movie.
Very true.
So here's like, think of this in relation to TI, where we were learning about how TI is stacking
Introverted
logic.
goes,
Right.
yeah, in, down.
So it starts with the premise: if you can make God bleed. So abstract, referring to Tony Stark as God.
Yeah.
So we're in the abstract. People will cease to believe in him. And now using the analogy of from the Bible to kind of follow this train of
Right.
the theory here.
Right.
There will be blood in the water.
Okay.
Which is now is like weakness, negativity. They saw that you can fall.
Yeah.
Then the sharks will come.
Which is a common pattern that you would absolutely see and be able to relate to.
Right.
You know?
Referring to the people, the reporters, your competition, etc. They're going to start coming after you.
Right.
And all I have to do is sit back and watch as the world, not meaning this literally,
Right.
but as that community or whatever, just starts to rip you apart.
Right. So he's revealing his plan.
Right.
That is my plan. My plan is to start the the catalyst changer of just making God bleed, and then I stand back, and then all the sharks will come and devour you.
Because all NI is doing is they're watching, in this case here, they're watching lots of different celebrities over the years rise up, have a problem, fall apart.
Right.
And so the NI is going, yeah, okay, this guy was a musician, I don't care. Yeah, this guy was a race car driver, I don't care.
All the same sensory,
Get-
all the same
Get
pattern.
that sensory out of my face. What is the core pattern? And I'm going to just track that pattern, and I'm going to start to predict it, and then now I can lay it out.
Right.
And it has to be laid out in a prophecy, prophetic, vein-jangling, weird kind of abstract way. Because if you say the sensor, then when the pattern plays itself out and the sensor is off, you missed it.
Yeah, totally.
So you got to keep it in the abstract. And that's when we're tracking people that are Savior NI. They talk like this way too much.
all day.
They're predicting things way out here, and they get very rebellious against the facts.
Right.
The Savior Sensory, like they'll send us long emails with lots of facts. They'll have
Lots of details.
Right.
They'll even say things like, I want to spare you the details because they're like, I shouldn't say as many, but then they won't.
Right.
They'll tell you all the details.
Right.
Yeah. You're getting a very, very clear picture of all of the what. When the sensors communicate to us in email, it's a very what-filled thing, and they will want more details to fill in all the what. But what is good about the sensors, especially the SEs, they will gather all that sensory, and then they will be like, now I
Yes.
can see the unifying concept that will
Right.
then build, and I'll be able to see this
It's
in other
always
places.
best when you got that balance.
Right, you need both.
Right. Yeah, the Savior ends, they're going to be talking like if you just heard somebody on the bus talking like this, if you could make God bleed, people will cease to believe. And the sharks, you'd be like, the hell is this guy talking about?
I know.
And like, that's how we're typing a lot of people that are Savior ends. Like, okay, I just watched your video for an hour. What
Did
the hell are you talking about?
Did you leave the planet?
Just talking about
right.
weird shit that
Totally.
makes sense in their abstract world.
Totally.
When you talk to somebody that's sensory dumb, you're like, I know what you're talking about.
totally.
I may be bored out of my fucking mind.
Yeah.
But I know what you're talking about.
I know you have to like dial it down and make it seem bad and stuff like that, but I will say what I see in the Savior NIs, when you get good, like when you actually stay in a lane for a long period of time, because you guys will be determined to come up with one singular concept that just every single new event can fit into, you will get pretty good at being able to predict what's going to happen on the next one. I do see that consistently.
As long as there is that flow of new SE coming in
Right.
to update the pattern.
That's very true.
Where the NI always falls apart, is that they'll get so obsessed on their pattern, their predictions.
Yeah.
They're not seeing that, hey, there was a story over here where
it didn't fit.
I'll throw that out.
That's so
I don't want to
true.
see that.
That's so true.
All right, so speaking of random SE, I want to show you some stuff that I found as I was digging around. So they have like a lot of clips of like, behind the scenes and different scenes that didn't make it into the movie.
Okay.
So
nice.
like Tony Stark, he's dead, Like they finally got him, Thanos or whatever. So if you can find some old Tony Stark footage, it's worth some gold. So I found some unreleased footage, but
oh my God.
they'll do this stuff where they'll just have it very basic, where they're rehearsing, or they're like, don't worry, we'll add it in on green screen later.
Yes.
So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, it's just the pre-rendered video footage.
Yeah.
And then they're going to make it look more realistic later. So I know it kind of looks like a video game right now, but this is real footage.
Okay. Oh my God. No. I see how all the SC fits into the NI concept
There
here.
it is.
Yes.
There you